Cyberknife was a very talented horse from day one. Fast horse, able to carry it around 2 turns. Looks a tremendous amount like Gunrunner, same ability and talent. Holds the track record in the Haskell. He won it in impressive fashion, beating a very good group of horses.
His name is Cyberknife!
Excited about him passing on his durability, his soundness, and his talent. He could definitely be a breed-shaping stallion.
All right, hello and welcome into this second episode of the Kentucky Derby Radar Show this week. I am Jim Gazzale alongside my brother Kevin, who's filling in for John, who is currently on his way to Gulfstream Park for the Fountain of Youth on Saturday, one of 4 Kentucky Derby prep races that we'll touch on here this weekend. Kev, welcome back. How you doing?
Doing great. Hopefully better than last weekend. Though we were all around it. But 0 for 5 in the pick 5. Just as hard to do as going 5 for 5. But the last time we did the radar show, we were pretty good. So maybe that's the key to getting some juice back.
Yeah, plenty of races to go through. So let's dive in. We'll start in New York at Aqueduct with the Gotham full field. Somewhat of a key scratch, perhaps, coming out this morning with Slider, the Sadler trainee for West Point Thoroughbreds, is not going to be in the starting gate in the Gotham, and he would figure to play a little bit of a role in the pace setup of this race, though I feel like there is still plenty of speed signed on in here. Still, a full field in the Gotham, and the departure of Slider, a little impact, but I don't think it's going to be a total race changer.
Yeah, I mean, you've been dying to see this horse. You've loved Slider ever since the going into the turf sprint, juvenile turf sprint last year. Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting spot. Sadler shipping all the way east, presumably to avoid the quartet of Bafferts in the San Felipe. But yeah, he was working well. He definitely would have been at the morning line at 8-1, probably a horse I would have used or played on. But like you said, now the field's down to 12. There's plenty of options otherwise that I'm still interested in.
Yeah. So this Kanate, if I'm pronouncing that right, Kanate for Todd Pletcher in the one hole here, figures to be a part of the early pace. Another horse with an equipment change going into a graded stakes race that we always kind of joke about because we see it, seemingly every week now. But, this one figures to be in the mix early on. Would need to, I think, take a bit of a step up to be a true contender here. But at the very least should factor in to the early pace setup.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he'll have to improve by, a decent amount of lengths to contend, but he's an early speed, and you see a lot of these races where he's, pushing the pace. He's second or third at the first call. Those races tend to end up being faster paced races. So, he definitely is a big factor in how this race is going to play out.
Yeah. The horse coming out of the 2-hole as well figures to be up close early on. Maximus Meritus, another one though, probably needs to take a big jump forward to be in the mix late, after most likely being in the mix early.
Yeah, I agree. There's really not much else to say on these horses that are 20-1 or more in this race. I think a lot of them are early speed, so it's not even like you could feel totally confident putting them in a try or a super, just because. I mean, maybe cutting back to a mile, but a lot of these are. I mean, Canate is the only one that's really cutting back out of the longer price one. So I just wouldn't feel too confident in these horses being able to hang on. They may kind of fly out there and then just kind of fade. So
yeah,
I mean, they'll end up having a big impact on the race, but I don't think they'll finish in the top 4.
The 3, Deterministic for Christophe Clement. Really solid maiden win over the summer, but we haven't seen this one since $625,000 purchase. So coming out of that maiden race, you'd expect this horse to run well. He's fired a couple of bullet workouts in the last little more than a month. Seems primed and ready to go. Bringing this one here, probably looking for a softer spot than in the Fountain of Youth. A contender, certainly a legitimate shot. You just kind of worry about that long of a layoff, but those workouts make it seem like this horse is ready to roll. Yeah,
I mean, and we'll get into it. I think if you're taking 9-2 on this horse versus the other Clement, the 13 Capital Idea at 12-1, figures wise, they kind of look a little bit similar. So I'd lean 13 over this one, but still, yeah, like you said, with so lately raced, you don't really know what you're going to get. This horse could need a race and could be, primed up for the wood in a month, but it's kind of a lot of unknowns. But regular work since January is kind of what you look for.
Yeah. Facenda, the 4, 50-1, another one most likely going to be up front early. And, to your point a little while ago, would have to guess, drifting back late. But, a string of decent workouts for Doug O'Neill, we'll see. I'm not too high on this one. Again, another lightly raced horse with some decent workouts lately. Just not a lot of body of work to be able to trust, really.
Yeah, and you can see, I mean, they're trying to get some fitness into him with these 5 furlong workouts, claimed off of Mendez, who out west, he almost does like a quarter horse type. Like he kind of dominates these 5.5 furlong races out there, more so with 2-year-olds than 3-year-olds. But they're trying to get, build up his fitness, and he's run a couple, good workouts. But also California, I feel like 59 and 5 furlong workout is kind of the standard, where in New York, that you look at that and you're like, this is the fastest horse alive. But so that doesn't really this horse, I mean, fitness wise, and Doug O'Neill's a good trainer, he could get him to hang on. I just know this horse is going to blast out of the gate and just kind of run its eyeballs out for as long as it possibly can.
Yeah. The 5, Deposition. Fired his best number on the Brisnets last time out in the Withers. Not a bad race. 50-1 is a bit. I don't know, I feel like this number will come down a little bit, but again, just with El Grande O, Light Line also in here, those two horses finished ahead of him last time and are, more than likely just better. So, I don't know that this one has much of a shot on the win side.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the horses hit the board, hit the super at 100-1 and 70-1 in his career. So, I mean, cutting back from the 1 1/8, he proved he can, he can run a decent number in the slop, and it's supposed to rain tomorrow over here. So, he might be a good underneath horse, probably the better, more intriguing than the other 20 plus to 1 horses. But yeah, win, I don't think he's really a win option.
Yeah. This Air Cav for Brad Cox, off that maiden win, he's just got absolutely crushed in his last 2 starts. Losing by 15 lengths and then 12 lengths last time out. I don't know. I feel like this is a bit up against it.
He might. I mean, he's probably just better suited. Broke his maiden at Indy. Like, it's just kind of probably the ceiling for this horse.
Yeah, this El Grande O, I have to eat a little bit of crow, I guess. I remember when we were talking about the Withers, I said that there were too many races this horse has run, and I didn't really like that going into a Derby prep. And he proved me wrong. Ran a very solid second. Really was up on the pace the entire time. Not that the Withers was especially fast, but I thought he did well to hang in there for Linda Rice, and certainly a legit contender here. And if you're gonna get 8-1 on a horse that should be forwardly placed, but showed last time that he has that ability to kind of sit off of horses and doesn't need to be on the lead. I think that tactical running style that he displayed last time could serve him well here. And, at 8-1, I think is an honest price where, would warrant a win bet for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I did, kind of my eyes went to him initially cutting back, and he was kind of, you'd think he'd be better over a mile. It's also kind of funny, like, I don't really understand why the Withers is 1 1/8, and then this race that's worth more Derby points. Am I wrong, right? It's worth more Derby points. Is only a mile at the same track. I don't know.
A bit goofy.
But, your thinking is like, yeah, he's shortening up. He's a front runner. This will give him a little bit more time to hang on. I agree. I just feel like something about it, like, I just feel like it's too obvious for, like, it's like one of those things where I think he'll come down off this 8-1 based off just people handicapping it that way. I'm going to lean more towards some of these horses that are stretching out that can, maybe get the mile a little bit better. But he's definitely someone I would use over the favorite in here, just a touch. Or, I think he has just as much a shot as anybody else in here. Yeah. And he likes the slop. He likes the track. What else could you want?
Bergen, the 8, another one for Brad Cox. Maybe arguably the best of the quartet that he's got in here, right? Quartet means 4. What'd you make of this horse? To your last point you just made, this horse will be kind of stretching back out to a mile. And second start off the layoff, ran a top figure to start his 3-year-old season. So you always kind of look for that to kind of propel them forward once again. Should certainly be in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be one of the top in here. There's really nothing to knock on him. He's usually a horse I would like. He's got a win in the slop at Aqueduct, kind of drawing away victory, which kind of lends you to believe that he can get the extra distance. I mean, he's ran it a mile before. Granted, he ran a slower late pace figure, but second start of his 3-year-old career. My only fear is like if he is 9-2 on the board when the gates open, that would be a play for me. My fear is just with Manny Franco, Brad Cox, good horse. He'll be closer to like 3 or 4 to 1, and what's the fun in that? So I would say he's like if we're playing the pick 5, I would use him. But if I'm going to pick one horse that I think is going to win, I'm going to end up telling you it's the 13 later on. But he is someone I would definitely, use as if I were to pick 3 horses that I think have the best shot at the best price.
Yeah. The 9, Eliminate, another one for Todd Pletcher, coming off a maiden victory. Just, figures wise, feels to be a cut below. Has every chance to improve here, no doubt. And I think the running style might suit him well to be in the mix late. I don't know that he has the ability to win this race necessarily, but if I was playing an exacta trifecta, he would be definitely one that I would include underneath some of these top horses.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, he looks like the horse to me that can kind of pop a bigger number here.
Mm-hmm.
Cutting back, I mean, I think the mile is perfect for him. I think they realize, I mean, anything could change from your 2-year-old season to 3-year-old, but I think they realized with those 2 races in the fall and the winter last year that, like, maybe routing, like longer routes is not his cup of tea, but he ran a career best figure, career best late pace. He's going to be going a little bit longer. Came out of that race 2 weeks later and then popped like a 48 4-furlong workout. He's one. I mean, I'm really torn between the 9 and the 13 in terms of like a win bet or who I'm going to pick. Probably going to go with the 13, but I'd say if I had to pick 3, I would go 8, 9, 13 would be my top 3 choices here. I think he has a legit shot, and Dylan Davis always seems to win these weird races. He's like what Kendrick Carmouche did a couple of years ago, where he was like oddly winning like these big races. I have no actual data to back that up, but it's just the way. This is kind of the feeling I have. But yeah, I think this horse has just as much of a shot as anybody else in this race, really.
Just a touch, the 10 for Brad Cox, the morning line favorite at 5-2. Again, just made his first career start as a 3-year-old. Did rather well down at Fairgrounds over a sloppy track, and as every maybe, I don't know if I want to say he has every right to be favored, but Cox and Giroux's always a tough tandem. I don't know. I just, like, again, with some of the other horses in here, just a limited body of work to go off of, and you might feel like some of the other ones are a bit more reliable.
Yeah, I think I think when we get to after the Derby, kind of midsummer, we'll look back at these like 3-year-olds, Phillies Zen males coming out of fairgrounds. I think we're just going to end up realizing that they all kind of stink. Like great, like he went in, won by 4 lengths, ran a big figure. But who? I mean, like. Basically, I was watching these races at Oaklawn last weekend, and every horse that came out of made its last start of fairgrounds got destroyed. Like West Omaha went off favorite, didn't run. We fell for Mucho Macho Woman or whatever. She had a bunch of big wins at fairgrounds, didn't run. I just think, the 3-year-olds have been great recently. Epicenter, pretty mischievous. The Hot Rod Charlie. These horses, like they run well out of fairgrounds. I just think this year it's just a bad crop, and I think taking like 5-2 on this horse, winning a maiden $57,000 purse, it would be crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, let the people bet him down. I think Qatar Racing a $300,000 purchase. The horse will still go off favored, but I think. There's a ton of options here, and the horse will probably win, and I'll look stupid, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. All right, light line, the 11, another Brad Cox. Ran fine in the Withers to grab third there. Decent late pace figures. I'd just be interested to see where this horse kind of positions itself. It's a 1-turn mile at Aqueduct. So this horse is going to break out of the gate and be, in the middle of the backstretch there. So it'll just be interesting to see how Ramon Vasquez kind of navigates him closer to the rail before the turn. But if he's in a decent position, he could get a decent jump on some of the front runners. And, again, coming out of that Withers race, I think he's got a decent shot in here, just given that running style and where he might be coming into the top of the stretch to, have a decent crack at running down the, 3 or 4 horses, perhaps even 5 horses that figure to be ahead of him at that point.
Yeah. I mean, of the Cox horses, it would be him and Bergen for me would be the ones I would look at. It's run well over the track. The only thing, I don't read too much into this until it screws me, but like Manny Franco opts for Bergen over this horse. They bring Vasquez in to ride. Probably, to them it's probably nothing, but something that jumped off the page for me. Working well. I mean, yeah, at 8-1, the horse, is a good option. Lost, only came in second to Carbone, who's a decent horse. But, yeah, I don't know. These Cox horses, I try to just play. Like, I just feel like they're just going to get bet so much, even though there's 4 of them or however many it is. But I just think, I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know what it is, but these Brad Cox horses this time of year never really I can never really get behind them until they beat me.
And then by then it's too late.
Exactly. But it's just, yeah, I mean, he might like the mile. Decent, that, what was it, this optional claimer at Oaklawn. But we'll see. I'm going to look elsewhere.
The 12 slider, like we said, is out, which is a bummer because I liked this horse going into the Breeders' Cup back in November. And then this 13, Capital Idea. Sounds like you're pretty high on this one.
Yeah, so I went back and watched this his race from the 28th. Was in the one hole around the turn. McCarthy kind of got him outside, way outside, and basically just mowed down the horses in the stretch. Granted, it was in the slump, so you could, 8 lengths, I think he won by. Could have inflated his number a little bit, and it could have just ended up being that the other horses didn't like it. But coming from the 13, now the 12 hole, it looks like he wants to be outside. McCarthy tried his hardest to get pretty early around the turn to try and get him outside. I think this is where I want to be, and I think 12-1 on a horse with this, who put up this speed figure last time out, came back on the work tabs, regular works pretty much since his last race. I think he has a legit shot. And, Clement's a good trainer. McCarthy knows the track well. I think, this horse at 12-1 has just about as much shot as anybody else. And he's who I would settle on. And I bet you he beats the 10 just a touch. I bet you he finishes ahead of him. But my gut, like I said, I was between the 9. The 9 is very intriguing, and the 13, but ultimately I'd say the 13 is my top choice in here.
Yeah. All right. I think for argument's sake, I think my top choice is going to be the 7 El Grande O. Like I said earlier, I just think that last race was pretty promising. Just the way he's able to kind of sit off a little bit and hang on there. So I think that tactical running style will suit him well here with some speed in front of him, and hopefully he gets the jump and is able to put forth a good effort down the lane. So I'm going to go with the 7 El Grande O as my pick in the Gotham. We'll take a quick timeout and we'll be back and we'll talk about the Battaglia at Turfway Park.
You want horsepower? We've got the sire power. Central Banker, New York's leading sire 3 years in a row, standing at McMahon of Saratoga. He has 12 black type winners, including multiple stakes winners and graded stakes placed Bank It, Morning Matcha, and Bank Sing. Central Banker, sire of 6-figure yearlings and 2-year-olds. He produced 9 stakes runners in 2023. Runners have earned $20.5 million on the track. Central Banker, standing at McMahon of Saratoga Thoroughbreds.
All right, welcome back. We're headed down to Turfway Park, home of the latest maiden winner, Spicy Tuna from last night. Another horse that we own a couple of whiskers of. Broke her maiden at race 4 last night at Turfway, which was super exciting. So good for her, good for all the connections, and good for Final Furlong Racing Stable out of New York. So Turfway is interesting because I believe 2 fills came out of this race last year. And then pretty sure Rich Strike came out of this, this race 2 years ago. So, a key prep, yeah, apparently. So let's see, maybe we can uncover some Kentucky Derby exotic horses to factor into our plays here in the next month or two. This Gettysburg Address for Brad Cox and Winstar just feels like this horse has always been kind of talked about since last summer and into the fall, but it just I don't know, it just feels like he's been kind of going the wrong way to start his 3-year-old campaign.
Yeah, I agree. I think him bringing this horse here as opposed to running him last weekend, or bringing him up to Aqueduct, kind of shows you how they feel about this horse. He's got a little bit of a turf pedigree, so he might like the synthetic a little bit more. He's been working relatively well, but at 6-1, I just feel like there's too many unknowns, and I'd like to see some more improvement off of that second. In his second race as a 3-year-old, he actually ran a slower figure, so I that always kind of steers me away from horses in this kind of Kentucky Derby trail.
Yeah. I don't know that we necessarily need to go through all of the horses here, so I'll just kind of pick out some ones that have had a little bit of buzz. This Bolt at Midnight, the 4-horse. Another one kind of working his way through, what do we got here? 5 maiden races, but it seems to be improving throughout those. And, ran a decent figure last time over this track, and seemingly run 2 decent races at Turfway. So a contender for me, I think. Probably not my top choice, but certainly one that I figure to be in the mix.
Yeah, I agree. He's one that he could pop a bigger figure. Third third of his 3-year-old season here. My only fear, is like, how hard is it to run a big figure against this Turfway kind of maiden field? But it also could just be, that was right when he turned 3 too, so that could be it as well. Decent percentage trainer. I just think at 4-1, you might be able to get a better number on a horse that's kind of showing a little bit more signs of improving, or a little bit more signs that the horse can kind of compete with better horses.
Right. Epic Ride is a name that I feel like I've heard often enough, and rightfully so. Won 2 of 3, and just barely missed in his first career start. But seems to be a top contender here at Turfway. We'll see. He's out of Blame, by Blame, so the distance shouldn't be too much of an issue. That front end running style probably served him well the last 2 times. So we'll see. I think certainly a deserving favorite, most likely.
Yeah. I agree. The only knock I could have, but granted, it's in a win, so it's not too bad, is when anytime a horse kind of runs second, that's like I just said before, that second start of the 3-year-old year, and they run a slower figure. Granted, he still won by 4 lengths, so might not be, might just be, the calculation of that isn't as crazy. But I just think at 5-2, there might be some other options in here. Just kind of hoping for a nice bounce and some figures from other horses.
Yeah. The one that I kind of liked was this Blue-Eyed George.
Yeah, me too.
Did get beat by that 4 lengths by Epic Ride last time out, but this seems like this horse is slowly improving. It's going to be the second off a layoff. Michael McCarthy is a top trainer. Machado is a top jockey, and just feels like this horse is sitting on a big effort, and he's going to have to improve certainly to get the money here. But I think 6-1 is a square price, and this is the one that I would definitely be picking on top.
Yeah, I agree. I landed on the same horse. I just think Epic Ride, the 6, is just going to get a little bit more pressure than he did last time out. And Blue Eyed George, second start of 3-year-old year, off a pretty significant layoff, working well, working regularly after that first race. I think, this horse is primed to make a big jump. And I think he likes the longer distance. I mean, it's still yet to be seen if Epic Ride, granted, it's only an extra 16th of a mile, but with some added pressure, I don't think Epic Ride is going to be able to roll out, 24, 48 fractions like he did last time. And Blue Eyed George popped a 92 late pace at Keeneland in October at 1:16 on the turf in a win. So I think, that all kind of points to this horse will like the added distance and, hopefully can kind of run these horses, run the front runners down.
Yeah. Encino, the 12 for Brad Cox. Broke his maiden last time out. Same distance, same track. Was up on the front, set, modest fractions, and was able to, just kind of keep a length in front throughout this entire race. Fine horse, but at 9-2, I think I'd be looking elsewhere probably. But again, these Brad Cox horses are likely to take a ton of money. Did you think anything about this horse?
I was intrigued, but ultimately the other speeds in here, and the 12 post is what kind of steered me off. I just think he's going to have to work pretty hard to get to the front, and it ultimately might be just a little bit too much for him to compete with the favorite in here and some of the other faster runners from the inside.
Yeah. Any other horses intrigue you in here? Those were about the ones that caught my eye going through it.
Yeah, the only other one was the 8 Breakout. Recently switched to the synthetic at Gulfstream, ran a good third, and then ran on the grass and won. Figures have improved off, late in the fall last year. He ran better under a different trainer, under Sano at Gulfstream on dirt. So the form, the ability is there. That's what that kind of jumped out to me. And I think this kind of recent form change, switching to turf, shows that he kind of likes the turf. So I think if he can kind of get back to those October, September races from last year and prove that he likes the turf a little bit more than the dirt, he could be a horse that could compete in here and at 12-1. And Safi Joseph, a great trainer. So I think he was the only other one that really stuck out to me here as, an option at double-digit odds.
Yeah. All right. So like I said, I'm on the 7. Blue Eyed George is the one that I'll be taking for the win. Same for you?
Yeah, same.
All right. We'll take another quick timeout, and then we'll be back, and we'll talk about the Fountain of Youth down at Gulfstream.
Solo Mini, a top 10 first crop sire in 2023, standing at McMahon of Saratoga. 14 first crop winners, including My Shady Lady, winner of the $500,000 New York Stallion Series 5th Avenue Stakes, Grade 2 winner, Winstock, and Stakes winner, Solo Shot. Solo Mini, the 7th leading freshman sire and the only top 10 freshman sire with a Grade 1 or Grade 2 winner. He sired a $700,000 2-year-old at the OBS April sale. His juveniles sold for nearly 6 figures on average, more than 12 times the stud fee. Solomini, a controversial DQ from being a Grade 1 winner by 2-time Horse of the Year Curlin, standing at McMahon of Saratoga Thoroughbreds.
All right, so down at Gulfstream Park, Fountain of Youth, always a key prep on the Kentucky Derby Trail. We're going to get a good rematch from a really top quality maiden race that we saw on Pegasus World Cup Day between Speakeasy and Victory Avenue. It'll be nice to see those two chop it up with the likes of Dornoch and Locked. Who did you like in here, Kev?
So I've told you about it. I've talked about it. I like Victory Avenue in here. Could be recency bias. Same connection, same ownership group as Mage. Similar path as last year. The only difference was Mage won on debut. Posted a similar figure. I just think there's so much upside in here. Gets John Velasquez on. I just think there's so much upside, and this horse, could be a player in the Florida Derby and hopefully the Kentucky Derby. There just weren't many others in here that like Locked is a good horse, but I really don't get Dornoch. I don't get it with that horse. Figures wise, he just isn't as fast as these other ones in here. And I don't know, Danny Gargan just doesn't really jump off the page to me as a trainer for these types of races. So that's why I landed on Victory Ave. I think he, really popped back on the worksheet right away after that race, after his debut, and they've been going 5 furlongs, 6 furlongs, 4 furlongs, 5 furlongs. I think they're just really trying to build up his fitness. He's got one more workout. He got back on the work tab a week earlier than Speakeasy did. So I think he's going to hang back. I don't think he'll blast out there and, try and just turn into a carousel. But I ended up on Victory Avenue, and I think if this horse wins this race or finishes top 3, he'll do the same in the Florida Derby, and then is going to be a player in the Kentucky Derby.
One quick thing on Dornoch. I think if you like Sierra Leone like I do, then you have to respect Dornoch, since Dornoch came back and beat him in the Remsen at Aqueduct back in December. I still think Sierra Leone ran the better race that day. Just ended up finishing second to Dornoch. So I feel like I agree with you, but I also think you have to respect him a little bit. Also on board with you on Victory Avenue. I think that horse is quality. The one I'll be playing, though, is Frankie's Empire. I think this horse is starting to turn a corner here, and should spring a decent number and should get a good trip with some of these faster horses up front and be in position to get them late. So I'd be on Frankie's Empire, probably at a pretty decent price, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I played him in a losing effort, pick 4. In the swell at Gulfstream. So I do like him. I just think that race was so, the pace didn't come back fast, but it was just all front runners, early runners, and he was the only late running horse. That's the only reason I didn't pick him in here. I do like him. It's my son's name, so I probably should like a horse a little bit more. Yeah, I don't know. I've been, ever since that debut race, all that hype around Victory Avenue, and like I said, it's probably recency bias, because looking at what Mage did last year, it's not going to happen every year, but it's just, I kind of lean towards Victory Ave.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got to figure too that that horse should improve off that effort. And if he does, I mean, he's squarely in the mix in here. So Frankie's Empire and Victory Avenue for me in the Fountain of Youth. The San Felipe got moved from Saturday to Sunday out at Santa Anita because of the rain. I don't know. This is what a field.
Yeah.
I mean, NYSO should trounce all of these. But I guess that's why they run the race. 4 horses in here for 3 horses in here for Baffert, none of which can get Kentucky Derby points. So it's just not.
It's not really even a prep.
Yeah,
Think about it.
Yeah, it's almost
goes
like
1, 2, 3, or 4 or whatever.
Yeah, but if you think Nysos is going to come in and win the Preakness and win the Belmont up here at Saratoga, then it's worth watching to see how he performs.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, I don't know that this race offers much from a
standalone betting. Yeah, I agree.
All right. Anything else you got?
No, that's all I got. No golden hour this weekend. It's been a busy week. Maybe on Sunday if we start feeling it percolate. But for now, trying to get a Victory Avenue future placed and trying to hopefully watch him win.
Yeah. No, John is on his way to Gulfstream for the Fountain of Youth, so he'll be doing some live content from the track on Saturday. I'll be down at Aqueduct for the Gotham and the Busher and a couple of other stakes races there on the Saturday card. So should be an exciting weekend of racing up and down the East Coast here. Coverage, as always, on PassTheWire.com and Pass the Wire TV right here. And join us.
Thank you. Peace.
Jackie's Warrior quickly in front here by 2 lengths. Here comes Jackie's Warrior up the inside to take over the lead from Life is Good. And Jackie's Warrior remains undefeated here at Saratoga, and he wins an unprecedented Grade 1 stakes at the Spa for the 3rd straight season.
Nobody does it better.